One Caribbean, many voices. Caribbean Perspectives starts now. Hi, guys. Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. I'm Karika. This will be our online platform where people from different Caribbean islands we sit and we talk about issues affecting us as Caribbean people. And with me, we have Director Parry from St. Kitts and Nevis, and Kiela from Trinidad and Tobago. Hey!
Hey!
We're missing Devon. We've been trying to call Devon, but he's somewhere enjoying Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to talk to someone special. We're expecting Shakelia John from St. Vincent, who is now living in the Grenadines, to join us. A very good friend of Parry. I actually met both of them at the same time. Peas in a pod. Never see one without the other. They do everything together. Sometimes they have a third friend that was always walking. So Shakelia has a pretty interesting story and a blog that she wants to share with us. And that is why I'm grateful for an opportunity, not just for this forum, but I really appreciate the opportunity that the Caribbean community has presented for us to study different campuses and meet different people. Otherwise, this here wouldn't happen if it wasn't for CARICOM. So that is why it's very important to sit and talk, because what I've learned is that by interacting with different people from different islands is that, number one, we have our individual culture that we want people to know that I'm a Caribbean national, but I'm a Trini, I'm a Vincentian, I'm a Kittitian, and I might have different views from a Jamaican.
Yes, I find sometimes we push one Caribbean, but at the same time, you want everybody to abandon their individualities to unite for one Caribbean. So I think sometimes in trying to force one Caribbean, you force people to really hold on more to what their cultures and what they know, and sometimes that causes even more division than what you intend.
And it's just because I've always wondered why are we so divided. Even when we're on campus, you see the arguments, and it's very important for us to, like, for me at least, to discuss it, because
even when I went to Cave Hill, persons would ask, well, where is Nevis? Caribbean. Persons from different Caribbean, they would ask, well, where's St. Kitts and Nevis? Where's Nevis? I've never heard of that. How small are you? So good to have a voice.
it is good. And I'm going to be honest, I know that, okay, so there is something that is so innate about you being Nevisian that we need to hear and understand and appreciate. And I think it is from that respect that we will just really start seeing a change in attitudes of Caribbean people.
Right, right. So I think too, as just leading on from what you're saying, that I mean this is what we're trying to do, because we have people from different Caribbean countries, so everybody gets to, and I mean we'll have people on from time to time from other Caribbean countries, so you get different voices. You get everybody speaking about the perceptions, the misconceptions, and if somehow we could communicate about it here, everybody will get to leave here learning something, maybe sharing something as well.
What I like is one man, one voice. So each of us have like an equal voice, and it will give us an opportunity to share our personal experiences with interaction with other Caribbean nationals. Get to talk to Shaki today.
Yeah.
You think you want to call her? No, I think we should call her.
Okay.
I think we should just call Shaki and see what's happening in the Grenadines. And I think her country is coming up for an election November 3rd.
She's from the island of Canoan.
Canoan, I like
I
that.
hope I said it correctly.
Yes,
That's one of the
Canoan.
Grenadine islands,
I
Canoan.
like that. I like that. And they're by us. Can you imagine surrounded by the nice water? Nothing is closed, right? She said the beaches are not closed or anything.
No, yeah, the beaches are not closed. Everything is.
She's just coming. Hey, Shaki.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey,
Thing.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Just so everybody could know,
Blind Tales.
Blind Tales. So I've read all your entries. Yeah. So we were just talking, and I'm saying that my earliest introduction was when both you and Parry, you were like peas in a pod. Everywhere you see one, you see the other. I was saying what I remember from seeing both of you is that you're always happy girls, two happy girls, always the shorts on our head out because going like, young, free spirited, happy. And we're happy. And then I know that you're always, Shaki, rubbing your eyes. From my recollection, maybe it's not accurate, but what I remember, what I recall also is somebody in the Shaki, what's wrong? He said, oh, it's just my contacts. And you were always happy. I don't know if you stopped a lot, to engage in a lot of conversation, but you're always smiling. That's what I remember. Parry too was always smiling.
I was the talkative one. I was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
smiler.
I just there.
Yeah, what we didn't know at the time was that you were, in fact, diagnosed a few years earlier. By 2013 was when we met you in hall. But at age 16 or so, you started having problems with your eyes. Can you just tell us what was the first indication for you that something was going wrong with your eyes?
Well, when I started college, I realized like there was something that was kind of, my vision was like worse, getting worse. So as everybody, if your vision getting worse, you would think, okay, I need some glasses. So I went to the doctor and I wanted to get my driver's permit. So I went to the doctor and they were like, they fit me for glasses. And then they told me, oh, you could probably have cataracts. At the time, I had no idea what cataracts was. So I was just like, oh, okay, cool, no problem. Then I went to my mom and she's a bit dramatic. So she was like, Jesus Christ, you're going blind. And I was like, oh, that's what it is. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I went back down, I got my glasses. They were like, everything fine. But I couldn't see.
Wait,
They put the glasses on yeah.
and I recall, though, from reading your blog, the insensitivity that you met when you were at that first appointment, where the lady said, can you read that sign at the door? You said, no, I cannot. She wiped it off and put it back on your face and said, can you read it now? And you said, not really. And she just shoved you through the door and is like, go on about your business. You will get better. And it wasn't until your sister saw you and asked you if you can read a promotional bag. And what happened after that?
Well, my eyes were swollen. I had a massive headache. When I took the glasses off, my sister was just livid because I told the lady that I couldn't see, yet she still told me, go and you'll get better. Me thinking, okay, maybe this is how you're supposed to be when you're wearing glasses. It started off blurry and you're supposed to squint through to see anything and then it get better. But I didn't know.
And then now your sister said, this is not gonna happen. They apologized. The doctor called you like a week after or something and she apologized. And then she gave you the diagnosis. What did she say to you and how was it delivered and how did you receive it?
Well, she called me and she was like, oh, we heard what happened and we're so sorry. But what happened is that you actually have something called keratoconus. So we were a bit wrong. But there's somebody they could bring in from overseas that could help me further. And you could just come on down. And I'm like, no.
Wow. What is keratoconus? For those of us who don't know, I've never heard about it before until I read your blog. What is it and how rare is it?
Okay, so keratoconus is an eye disease that pretty much affects the cornea. As it progresses, your cornea begins to steepen. So a regular person has a dome shape cornea. As it worsens, it steepens into a cone and it bulges out. When this happens, your vision gets impaired. It's hard to focus as it progresses. It's extremely rare where 1 out of 10,000 people, I've been told 1 out of 10,000 people get it. And I'm that lucky one.
Oh, and how you were like 16?
I was 17 going on, 18.
And shortly after that, when you realized that nothing was working, because you lived in St. Vincent when this was happening. You're from St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yeah.
And then you moved to Barbados. Your mom moved. There was by this time you're on to doctor number 3 when you moved to Barbados, right?
Because when after because I didn't know anything about it. Nobody actually told me it was a disease. It was just a condition, a little condition, nothing to worry about. So I went to a doctor in Barbados and she gave me these little lens and she's like, okay, just put these on. But they were so painful. I couldn't wear them for more than 15 minutes. I tried my best. So I just left those there and went through the rest of college. When I went to university, that's when I couldn't see anything and my vision had already progressed a lot more. And when I went to another doctor, which was doctor number 3, they were like, oh, you have to do surgery.
And you just mentioned something about college, about university, and we're talking about University of the West Indies, Cable.
Yeah.
And there is a part of your blog that I want you to read. There's an excerpt from your blog that I want you to read, and it's about your first day of lecture, because you would have been on campus around 2 weeks before lectures begin, like all of us. We would go on to hall, settle into hall. So during your 2 weeks of settling, everything was okay, right? You didn't have any indication that you were about to have an issue.
No.
It is about her very lecture, and this is Cable Campus, Barbados, year 1.
All right. So it was my first lecture, the first time being in an auditorium. I remember sitting in the center third row from the stage. My notebook was out, my pens were lined up, and I was ready to learn. I must admit, I was a bit of a nerd. 15 minutes later, the lecturer waltzed in. I was able to see him quite well. After his introduction, he began to write, and I saw nothing. At first, I thought he was playing a prank or pretending to write, until I glanced around the lecture hall and everyone was writing. I tried squinting, still nothing. I became uneasy, uncomfortable, and out of place. The tears began filling up in the corners of my eyes. The voice in my head was telling me to get up and run out there. But how could I? It was packed, and I disliked when the attention was placed on me. The next thought I had was to pretend. I scribbled random crap on my notebook. It was the longest 2 hours of my life.
And that's a lot. It must have been a long walk back to Sherlock.
Yeah, it was.
After that first day, did you harbor any particular thoughts about like quitting school? Because you were alone, you didn't have friends. Did you have any other friends on hall at that time?
No, I didn't. I was there alone, right? I had my roommate.
Yes.
Right? But we weren't that close. We weren't that close.
Can you describe for us? I think what I would want to know is, how did you feel that day after? You know, you've signed up, you've paid your fees, you're ready to start your career because you know what you want to be in life. Because I've read that part too, that you are very career driven. You know the firm you want to work for, or everything was set. Curtains are up, the bed was spread, you can't turn back. And so explain to me that first night when you realize that you do not even have your vision, which is a very important part of your studies at UWI.
At first, I was just confused. The whole walk back, I didn't know how to grasp what happened. It felt like a dream. It felt surreal. So I went back. I was like, you know what? I have to give it another chance. Let me try again the next day to see what happened. A different class, different auditorium, see what happens. Go back, same thing. That's when it hits me, okay, this is real. I can't see anymore. And I didn't want to give up, but I felt lost.
But then you experienced a breakthrough on day 2.
Yeah.
Another part that I wanted to read, it's day 2. Parry, if we could let her read that one.
Right. Where do I start? Okay. The next day, I went to a different lecture in another auditorium, but the same results. This time, I sat next to a young lady who asked me why I wasn't writing. I don't know if you get the same feeling, but with me, I felt ashamed to tell people that I was unable to see. She could tell that I was embarrassed when I told her. Her response was, "Don't worry, you'll get my notes, you get the notes from me." Back then, it was shocking for someone to be that kind. Well, to me, I had never experienced such kindness, especially from a stranger. After that class, I booked another appointment with doctor number 4, who told me since the RGP lens didn't work in my favor, I'll have to do a transplant. I was appalled. How was it that every doctor I kept saying it was a minor condition?
And then a minor condition. That's how they were. So by this time, you're on to doctor number 4. And
4, actually, yeah.
and they were still describing it as a minor condition.
Mhm.
Who had this to say further about that young lady. Shortly after the young lady who was giving me notes had asked how everything was going, and I gave her an update. Her name is Derica, and this is Derica right here. You said about her afterward was really touching. You continued. She effortlessly said, "Okay, I'll help you." Didn't know this young lady. You didn't know each other at the time.
I knew her from halls,
From
but
her.
we weren't that cool. We weren't that close as yet.
Okay, and at this time, Derica lived one door down from you at that time, or did she live at a different?
We lived on the same flat, but she was a couple doors down, like on the
doors
other side.
other side. Said her help was going to the classes with me while she wrote the notes, and then she taught me all of the courses. Up to this day, I am still convinced she is the reason I got all A's in my first year. She's a keeper and the best friend anyone could pray for.
Yeah.
Flash forward for 6 months, my parents and I flew to Miami for doctor number 5. So now, Parry, we have to talk to you. You didn't know her. Boy. And this was like early 20s. So you're around 2021, early 20s then?
No, we were 18.
18.
Yeah.
And this first year, Karika, this is their first year in university.
First
18, 19.
And Parry, you didn't know this girl. You're from St. Kitts and Nevis. You have met her in hall.
Yeah, I saw her on the dorm a couple days before, and she was just bouncing around. And so we just connected. You know, the energy. It was just like a natural connection. All I said to her was hi, and I walked past the door and I waved. You remember that, Chuck?
Yeah.
I walked past the door and I just waved. And so when I realized she was sitting next to me in the auditorium, I didn't even realize that it was her until the person was not writing.
And when because ordinarily, if someone is sitting beside me and they're not writing, I wouldn't, and it's not because I'm selfish, but an auditorium of 100 people or so, that was about the size.
About
I would assume that someone is not writing because they just don't want to. They're going to get the notes. They're probably distracted or whatever. But what made you decide to say, hey, why are you not writing? Did it just fast, Derica?
well, maybe. No, it's like she was not writing, but she had her pen and she was like drawing or something.
Oh.
And she was drawing something. And I looked up. I saw it was her, my flatmate. And I minded my own business at that point.
Did you?
But then I realized that she kept drawing, as if she was scribbling. She wanted to look like she was writing. And then I asked her. I said, maybe she needs help. So I just be fast.
But what
asked her. I believe,
did you to say to her at age 18? What made you say, I'll help you?
I don't know. I think it's my personality, maybe. I more believe it's my personality. And my grandmother always said to me, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. She looked like she was pretending to do something. So I guess that prompted me to ask a question,
I see. Describe for us the point, Shaki, when you revealed to Derica what was really happening. And I know that you said that she's the reason you got all A's that semester.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me how much she assisted you during that semester, how your friendship matured, and tell us in any way how she helped you from September to December, that first semester at UA.
Well, after class, we walked back. It was the first time we walked back together, and we were just talking. We weren't even talking about class. And then we got to my dorm room, and I told her I have this condition, but I don't know what's going on. I just can't see, so I have to make an appointment. And she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, she'll help you. She will help me along the way." I was expecting just, I get the notes and that's it. coming up to finals, we were in the Gale. We were in the Gale. She had somehow, I don't know where you got the board from, but she had her board and she had, I think she bought it from Price Mat and some markers. And she sat me right in front of the board. She had the notes and she was like, come on, we gotta do this, we gotta learn. She was like, come up close so you could see properly. So I was like this close to the board. And she was like, this is how you have to do it. And she was doing the equation. I was like, okay, I could get that. And then she was reading it out for me. And I just remembered. I didn't expect this at all. She went all out for each course. And luckily we were doing mostly courses together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, so for your first semester, you were able to, due to your memory and Derica's help, you were able to get all A's. So you were well on your way to getting that first class honors, doing well in school, getting that career, that good job, that independence and everything. But then as your blog continued, I noticed you said that you started to struggle because the contact lenses weren't fitting correctly. They were not the correct ones. You were quite upset that the doctor decided, was it doctor number 4 who ran the contacts under tap water?
No, that was doctor number 3.
Because you have, to this day, let us just establish now that to this date, you've had 10 or 11 doctors.
I had a lot of doctors. Hold on, I would have to count them.
Them up. I think I reached number 10 or number.
I think I was 10 because 3 before. One briefly was the one after the awful experience, and they're the one they referred me to Barbados.
Yes.
Then after Barbados, I met that one that said I need the surgery. Then I went to the States. After the States, I had to find a doctor. Like later on, I found a doctor. I met a doctor at the hospital, and we've had brief encounters, but he didn't know much about the like helping my contacts out. He was more about the eye. Then he referred me to another doctor. After that, I saw another doctor later, like a year after. And then I went back to doctor number 7, who referred me to another doctor that he had. After that, I went to Trinidad. I had the doctor there. And then I just went back to the one after I just gave up on that, and I went back to the one in the US.
So that was up to this point, that was a lot of traveling and a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Kayla, there's another part of it that Kayla is going to read to you about the morning in December 2013. What happened. So she's going to read that, and then we talk a little bit about that. Kayla, are you ready for that one?
Right. It was December 20th, 2013. I woke up the morning and everything was white in my right eye, and I could barely see from my left eye. It had to be a dream, I thought. So I went back to bed, into bed, and closed my eyes for a little and then reopened. Still nothing. The steps were repeated once more and the results were the same. I got up from the bed to take a look in the mirror and I couldn't make out myself, not facial features. My best friend told me that my eye was bloodshot red and glossy like marble. All I was able to do was have a breakdown.
Talk to us about that. We want to stop right there for the breakdown. Tell us. So this was exam time. I know December. Was it still exam time or did exam end?
This is like exam time. I had back-to-back exams, and that one I had my final exam. That's the day I had my final exam, the Friday. I was pushing myself through that week, pushing my contacts, which I shouldn't have been doing, and I had an infection, and it was painful. The day before, which I don't think I mentioned that into the blog, where it felt like I had like somebody scratching my eyes with nails. That's how painful it was. And I felt like my eyes were going to pop out. But the day after I finished the 2 exams, I think it was a Thursday, went to sleep, woke up the Friday, and I couldn't see. I felt like it was a dream. I was like, I had to be dreaming because I wasn't prepared for this. There was no warning sign. So I went back to bed, closed my eyes, and I was like, okay, it's a dream. I could wake up now. I was like shaking myself, and I woke up and I saw what happened, and I didn't see anything, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to cry because I felt like if I cried, everybody would hear me scream out, and that would draw too much attention. So I got to Derry, and I was telling her what was happening, and then she told me to close my eyes, close my left eye, and she disappeared. I couldn't see her, and it was just too much for me. So I went in and I broke down.
When you say you broke down, what does that mean? What does breaking down?
I started screaming. And I cried and cried and cried, and I couldn't like grasp myself. I couldn't hold myself together. I felt like I had no control over my life. I had no control over my emotions anymore. And I'm normally somebody that has it together. Even when I don't have it together, I can't ever show anybody that I don't have it. So I have to always be strong for myself. And at that point, I was just weak.
And you're right about that, because as I said, I lived on Sherlock. We lived on the same floor. So my door would face your guys' door. And I think what everybody thought was that Shaki and Derry just happy. It's a perfect place for them. They're happy. They're going out. And when you were right when you said nobody knew about any of this. Why was it so important for you to, number one, not say anything to anybody, not even hall administration? Did you say to your lecturers? Is it that you didn't want pity? What was your reason for not trying to tell people about what you were going through, and you being at such a young age? And it was very important for you to at least enter your profession by passing your grades.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want, is it pity party? I didn't want that look, because I would tell like one or two people, and they always gave me this sad look. And then there were questions that I just didn't want to answer. So I rather not tell anybody, because you can't look at me and be like, oh, she has something wrong with her eyes, unless I say it. And I'm very reserved and shy about certain things. So I would just keep a lot of things in. I'm accustomed to, before, keeping everything in and dealing with my own problems.
That's true. When you said you can't look and tell, and that a lot of people would give you a lot of compliment on your looks, your beauty, you're always smiling and all of that. Did that in any way affect you when people be like, Shaki with the perfect body, Shaki looks so perfect, Shaki you're pretty, Shaki, did that affect you when people were painting this picture of you as this perfect human being, but at the same time, you're going through something that was so challenging, that was threatening your career, it was threatening your dating life, which you mentioned, which we'll talk about at some point. How did that affect you, if in any way?
Well, actually, looking back, like it took me a couple of years, but looking back, it made me realize that to always treat people good, because I was so good at faking being happy. Because during that time, the only times that I was actually happy is because I had a support group. I had as a support from Derry, right? The one person that actually knew, and then my family. But other than that, I was depressed. I was suffering from depression, and nobody knew.